I've been expecting you, Jihadi Bond.
I was wondering what took you so long to find me.
Let's just say I was caught up with a dinner date.
Well, I hope she knows how to handle that left hook of yours.
She did. Unfortunately for her, it was the right uppercut that did her in.
You've always had a way with the ladies, 666.
Well, that's simply because I always understood something you could not.
And what's that?
What you call charm. I call raping them repeatedly and beating them without mercy.
I'll have to put that in my notebook of pickup tips, Mr. Bond.
Enough small talk. Who are you working for? Who is behind this mug club?
You cannot stop it. Besides, it's not who, it's what. His wheels are already in motion, a force which cannot be stopped.
We'll see what YouTube has to say about this.
My club is a force beyond YouTube. It cannot be contained. It cannot be stopped.
You really think that YouTube, with all its power, with all its featured content, with all its young Turks, they cannot take care of your merry band of friends? What happens when your precious mug club is banned, or worse, demonetized?
My club operates outside of YouTube.
Outside YouTube? But that's internet suicide.
You are right, Mr. Bond. YouTube merely provides, shall we say, the platform to grow Mug Club, as YouTube continues its jihad on free speech, effectively using its own power against itself. As users continue to join Mug Club, YouTube is no longer needed to reach one's user base. It is suicide, Jihadi Bond, with YouTube's finger on the trigger.
I've heard enough. Who is behind this supposedly unstoppable mug club?
You still don't get it. It is not who, it's ah!
I just realized I totally reversed that. You're supposed to do the inflate it, which is my dad used to do that when I was a kid, and to embarrass me because I was weak and skinny. Speaking of which, Not Gay Jared producing with me in video studio as always.
I went to the gym this week.
That's good.
First time in a year and a half.
Follow him at Not Gay Jared, me at S Crowder with your comments, questions, photoshops, insults. I fulfill my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. We good?
We're good.
Yeah, that's right. Not Gay Jared, you went to the gym.
I did, but I also
And you
bought a
were telling me about
recliner this week.
magnesium.
So I'm conflicted.
That's the worst.
It is.
If you're planning on going to the gym and you buy a new toy,
Yeah.
or you get a new gun, or you get a recliner, it's like, nah.
Some would say the two conflict.
Just don't plan anything fun the same day as the
No.
gym. Speaking of which, at G Morgan Jr. here, fun guy.
Speaking of not fun,
No, I said just don't plan to do anything. I was saying you're fun because you're a wine guy.
it's a. I can't do it. I need to go to the gym.
Yeah, you
apparently.
both need to go to the.
You put us together, you have one full-grown human being.
It's true. There has to be truth in comedy, you 6'5" giant.
True.
I'm just demure. No, he's not. I can barely fit him in the studio. It's silly. Great guests today. We have Boss Rutten, mixed martial arts legend. I'm pretty closet conservative,
Yeah.
but after this, he'll be lucky to work again in the entertainment industry. And then, of course, we have Andrew Klavan, great friend of the show.
How many careers have we killed now?
Yeah.
We should have the death chart of.
Or launched. Depends.
Well, we'll let him come out. I have a few things I want to ask him about, which sort of implies it. We have some stories that we'll be talking about. The replace and repeal the bill, the healthcare bill. Woo. Went through with single-digit votes today, but that's a big deal. And there's a lot of outrage from the left over the Upton Amendment. So I know it's kind of boring, it's convoluted. We'll get into that, though, and hopefully explain it in a way that you can understand. Also, Bill Nye, fake news, chromosomes, and the gender bender. We'll talk about that, what's true, what's not true. I'm trying to think. Oh, Tranny Bane is coming up to
Tranny Bane.
Tranny Bane is debuting today.
Lucky to have him.
If you're not a Mug Club,
Oh,
Z.
crap.
How do you know?
You don't want to do it with Tranny Bane.
We've
you don't want
talked
him on your
about
tail.
this.
So before we get to those stories, though, there are a couple of stories that just piqued our interest. There's been outrage in San Francisco over a policeman shooting a man. So there's the question of police brutality. We'll show you the local affiliate clip. Outrage over a cop shooting a man who was a man who stabbed someone. By the way, he was in the middle of stabbing that person.
Sources say the two men inside that Subway's had been arguing over a sandwich. The man who was stabbed was taken to a hospital. The other did not
Take it
survive.
seriously.
Well,
local
stabbing was in progress. Stabbing was in progress, yes.
Was there a way to avoid this?
Everything right now is under investigation. It's a very preliminary.
Nearby residents like Sherry Pittman were outraged by the shooting.
So if we have a fight, we finna get shot, and I fight all the time.
Apparently, she didn't ask for her lawyer.
Is there a way to avoid this? How about not stabbing?
I can't. It's like you have the right to remain. I ain't gonna be silent. I did the crime. I stole it. I already told you I done stole it all the time. Listen, it's not because she's black. It's because she's hilarious. Notice the black officer didn't laugh at that. But she's funny.
She is funny.
She's like a walking cartoon character. They're outraged over a cop stopping someone in the middle of a stabbing. This is where you cannot find middle ground.
I don't understand.
Again, it's like if you're against deporting illegal aliens who are committing felonies, we're not going to find common ground on the anchor baby issue. So this, of course, this event, the police brutality, apparently, quote unquote, has led to protests in San Francisco, protests, riot signs, where they ultimately coined the new slogan, "Hands up, let me stab you repeatedly." And the first arrival paramedics were actually reported as saying that it was really a gruesome scene. There was blood everywhere. It took a long time to get it out of their clothes, but they finally did it. Still no luck on removing the smell of Subway, though. Stays with you.
It stays. You ever worn leather one of those places?
No. I know you
I have Subway smells from
I know
2012.
in San Francisco. Oh, man, in San Francisco,
His
the
name is
Folsom Street
Jared.
Fair must be
oh
terrible.
My gosh.
And then that Folsom Street Fair, a bunch of people walking in leather chaps. I think I want a Subway sandwich. Well, what do you want? You want the Southwest steak? I don't know what it is. They say it's the Southwest steak. I order it. They say, what do you want on it? Then what is the Southwest steak? Why name it if I decide what's on it?
Wore leather, haven't had a date in years.
I don't understand that with Subway. Someone can explain it to me. It's like, what do you want? A Southwest steak. Okay, what do you want on it? All right, give me the normal steak one. What do you want on it? What makes it Southwest? The peppers? Why don't you put the peppers? Well, do you want the peppers on it? Then why the title?
I can't get anything right.
A lot of flack to Stephen Colbert made a joke. We'll talk about this with Klavan later on, where he referred to Trump's cock holster for Vladimir Putin. By the way, I think it's kind of a funny word. So some people were really outraged. I don't tend to get outraged, but I didn't. They were talking about a boycott with Colbert. I didn't see any genuine conservatives who I knew calling for a boycott.
It seems like a little bit of a straw man alert because I see people saying, "Oh, if you have a problem with Colbert's lewd comments on this, but had no problem with Trump's lewd comments about grabbing," you're highly inconsistent. I'm like, I don't think that's the argument. I think everyone jumping on hashtag, if they're conservative, they're like, I already kind of hated Colbert. This is a fun thing to do today.
Right.
But people who are really upset about it are upset for the homophobic.
Yeah, that's right. We saw that at HuffPo.
HuffPo is just one of many to write about it.
We need the HuffPo queer voices. I love that that's a section. We need to stop making jokes about Trump and Putin. Okay, sweetheart. Let me explain to you the definition of need, because you seem to be a little murky. We don't need to stop making gay jokes. You need to learn the definition of need.
Yes.
Need means, I really, really want you to stop making gay jokes. But I love the cannibalism from the left.
It is fun to watch.
I think Colbert thought, they won't come for me because my fans are the ones who go after other people.
Yeah.
What are you going to say? Jill was going to say.
Why do we have... why are gay jokes off limits? Is it only why it's got to be straight jokes?
For the same reason we're going to get people in the comments
It's not funny
section.
if it's not a gay joke.
No.
In this case. That's the funny part.
That's the funny part. And I don't think it was a funny joke. I don't think Stephen Colbert's hilarious. I certainly think he's funnier than Samantha Bee and Trevor Noah. I've said that. I thought he was funnier in character, but I don't want to see a guy boycotted. Especially, listen, his ratings are doing well, so he deserves what he gets.
Yeah, well, he's a little one note with the Trump stuff. I think
He's
he's locked into it. But I think, to his credit, he's not backing down from the comment. He's saying, sorry, it's maybe a little overboard with crassness, maybe not FCC appropriate. But to his credit, he's not backing down. Which, as for comedy's sake, it's refreshing to see.
Yeah. Watch for him tomorrow, though, to call for the boycotting or banning of someone who says something offensive. Or they say, like, I'm never calling for the banning, but they just encourage this sort of crap storm of offense. Sure. So, okay. Another news. Bill, this is something that's been making the rounds. Important. Bill Nye did this whole gender bender thing. You can shut off the deal, Jared. The gender bender thing, gender exists on a spectrum. You saw this. We talked about this earlier in the week, wrote about it at loudwithcrowder.com. Now, there was a meme making the rounds, an alt-right sort of meme that went around, this one, where it talked about an episode of Bill Nye in the 90s, and it said, gender is determined by your chromosomes. So a couple of things here. I interpreted this as a meme. There are no quotations, not a direct quote. In other words, when I first saw this, I saw it as, that must have been the sentiment expressed.
Yeah, we did a lot with memes just to capture the sentiment of something somebody believes.
If someone kind of understands memes. Okay, so that's the case. Now, we didn't run it on the site because all of the leftist news sites, and we tend to read leftist news sites more to check our sources because we want to know what the left is saying. They said that it was completely fake. So places like Gizmodo and the fact-checking website said this is entirely fake. Bill Nye never made this quote. He never said anything about gender and chromosomes. As a matter of fact, to prove their point, and they fooled us. They fooled us. We thought, well, maybe this is just another hoax, kind of like the Donald Trump quote meme that goes around. They fooled us by even including a clip of the Bill Nye episode.
Our genes are stored in parts of our cells called chromosomes. They look like this. Chromosomes contain all of the genetic information, all of the instructions you need to make a person.
So when you watch that, you think, well, that seems dishonest with the meme, because he didn't say anything about gender being binary.
No.
Turns out, okay, when these people said fake news, the implication that Bill Nye had a show that said, well, Bill Nye didn't say it directly, so I will allow that, clarify that. But that same episode, that show included one of his female cohorts on the show talking about two genders. You have a 1 in 2 chance, your gender being determined by chromosomes. And here's the thing. It was in the same show after that clip, and it was edited out retroactively. It was censored by, I think, Netflix and or Disney. Here's the clip they omitted.
I'm a girl. Could have just as easily been a boy, though, because the probability of becoming a girl is always 1 in 2. See, inside each of our cells are these things called chromosomes, and they control whether we become a boy or a girl.
1 in 2, not 1 in 73. Not 1 in pansexual gender fluidity. Now here's the if Gizmodo and if these sites, PolitiFact, if they'd written, listen, this meme is going around, it's a false quote, Bill Nye did not say this. However, in the episode that was retroactively edited to omit this clip, they did say that gender was determined by chromosomes and highly implied that gender was binary. If they'd have written that, it would have been honest. Now, we've written, for example, about global warming, about scientists from NASA who said we're going into a global cooling period. And in the articles and on this show, we said, now, by the way, these same scientists say, but totally don't worry, you guys, because global warming is going to occur after those 50 years. We provide that context and the link. These real news sites calling out fake news sites, turns out we're in cahoots, we're in on the gag of this show being retroactively edited. Do you have any idea how insanely dangerous that is? And something even scarier, you want to talk about Orwellian, people use the term so often it's lost all meaning. Google has recently issued their guidelines. They said their algorithms are going to favor real news over fake news. And they've actually named some of the sites that ran this story claiming that people on the right were fake news. So if you look at their descriptions, sites like ours, which I encourage you to bookmark, cloudwithcrowder.com, would be considered fake news. Gizmodo, PolitiFact, Snopes would be considered real news. By the way, also university publications like Berkeley today, who are hosting actual communists teaching courses, giving seminars on how to eradicate Trump voters from campus. They banned Milo, they banned Ann Coulter, but they're hosting communists. And Gizmodo does this, and Google's going to favor them as real news. Something else that I think is even crazy, okay? They went back, even crazier, sorry, my words, I don't know. Stroke, maybe.
Words have meaning.
It was a Stephen Hawking dance that I did. It's coming back to bite me from earlier this week. Something I think is even crazier. They went back and they edited a science show. Now, it wasn't an addendum to correct the science. They didn't edit it out because the science wasn't accurate. They edited out the science from a science show because it was offensive. Is that not terrifying? And this is, again, the far left, the Bill Nyes of the world, the Gizmodos of the world, the factcheck.orgs of the world. These places who consider themselves the arbiters of truth are removing science because it is offensive. There's no excuse for that. At least when Al Gore did it with an inconvenient truth, he was going back to correct some inaccuracies. He made a lot of predictions.
There is a faster buildup of heat here at the North Pole in the Arctic Ocean and the Arctic generally than anywhere else on the planet. That's not good for creatures like polar bears who depend on the ice.
Or, in fact, they could just as easily float, because that's what polar bears do in water. Also, there could be 3 times the population of polar bears 10 years from this film. We don't know.
And how could they be expected to know? I appreciate that Al Gore has been honest.
He cleaned
about that.
it up. That's good.
Little known fact, he recorded that voiceover from a Swedish masseuse booth.
Oh, that's good enough.
Doing something with the arches of their feet. So, healthcare bill. Let's get into the health... What's happening? What?
Dude, Jared.
Dean, hey.
Dude, where were you?
Where was I when?
He will not divide us. New York was fun as hell, so I went over to... I was supposed to meet you at the UK one.
Dean, that was just an idea. We were just floating that around. We didn't confirm that.
I went there. I waited for like a week.
I'll call you back.
He's a nice guy, but we've got to...
sorry.
Just got to clarify that, Jared.
Yeah.
It's my bad.
Personal calls in your time. So, the healthcare bill, have you been following this?
Yeah.
Both of you?
Oh, yeah.
So you saw that the vote passed?
Yeah.
Yep.
How many votes was it? I know it was single digits.
It's 217, like 211 or something like that. I'll have to double check. But
so it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So this is the repeal and replace idea of the bill. There are a few controversies here. So I want to explain it without getting you too bored. And it's hard to get people who are not bored when you're talking about multi-thousand-page bills. This bill includes something called the Upton mandate. Now, it allows for a few things. Okay? It allows for a few things to occur, but the most controversial aspect of which is it allows a waiver for states. Now, what does this waiver allow for? It allows states to allow insurance companies to charge more for people with pre-existing conditions. So I want to be clear. Some people are going out and saying this means that states will be exempt from the pre-existing condition stipulation. They're not. I wish they were. I really wish they were. I don't think there should be any federal mandate to cover pre-existing conditions. That's not what it is. What this waiver allows, and what has to occur, is a state has to prove that premiums or costs have gone up a significant amount, so the state can apply for a waiver, which allows the state to allow insurance companies... There's a new mic. I just hit it. Damn it. I was all excited about it, too. Allows the states to allow insurance companies to charge more. That's what it is. That's what has Nancy Pelosi, Mrs. Voldemort, with her panties, whatever it is, in a bunch. Depends in a bunch.
TRUMPCARE eviscerates essential health benefits such as maternity care, prescription drugs, emergency coverage, prenatal care,
such
and
as
guts protection
what am I
for
lying
Americans
about?
with pre-existing medical conditions. As bad as TRUMPCARE was the first time around, you know, it was dead. It died. It died right here on the floor. Now it's come back to life, like a zombie.
And she would know.
Fitting.
She looks like something Rick Grimes would blow away with a Colt Python. I just hear she says that, and I'm sitting there going like, yes, it's like we've talked about with Gavin McInnes. We're saying the exact same thing. By the way, the waiver, we'll get into the economics why I think that's at least a step in the right direction. I would have liked to see a complete elimination of all of these mandates, but this is nothing new. And before we get to the economics, the political selective outrage is what I find to be hilarious here. When Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was first passed, waivers were allowed too.
Yeah.
Now, who do you think the main recipient of these waivers being exempt from the mandates were? It was almost entirely blue, entirely liberal states and counties. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest champions of Obamacare, Anthony Weiner himself, got a waiver for his district. Passed the bill to know what's in it. It's going to be, we need this for America. Okay, you first. Dick pic? Now, here's the economics of this, okay? And this is something too where, again, like Jimmy Kimmel, they attribute motive. The left only cares, I'm sorry, let's just be honest here. They only care about the screw-ups, about the leeches, about the non-contributing zeros to society. Okay, they say, well, there's so many people who are uninsured. What about, I get it, every now and then someone has a pre-existing condition that is not their fault. I understand it. By the way, there have always been high-risk health insurance pools for that. Yep. But they don't care about the people who foot the bill. It's not that we don't care about sick people. It's that we care about the other Americans who have seen over a 20% year-over-year rise, projected to be at least 25% in 2017 as far as premiums. It's that we care about those people. It's that we care about the families who are now seeing an average deductible of $12,000, $6,000 for an individual, which was unheard of before this. It's not that we don't care about sick people. It's that we care about everybody else who has to bear this burden. The economics of Obamacare have been horrible. That's why it's wildly unpopular. Okay, that's why Donald Trump won. Wall, repealing Obamacare. Obamacare is unbelievably unpopular. And I don't know, remember when they were going to pass it, they always used car insurance as an example. As though car insurance was a great analogy for a federal mandate for you to purchase health insurance. A couple of things. Car insurance goes state to state.
Yeah.
And the car insurance that you're purchasing is designed to protect somebody else. It's to keep somebody else safe, not you.
Liability. It's built into the word.
Yeah. It's kind of the bare minimum doesn't cover anybody. You're screwed.
It covers other people.
That's the bare minimum is you barely help somebody else. You screw.
Right. The bare minimum is somebody else who you could hurt. So I've never thought it was a valid analogy, the car insurance analogy. But let's use it here since they've liked to use this for so long. The car insurance analogy. Well, you have to buy car insurance. Here's the thing. You're buying car insurance for someone else. Whereas health insurance, you are uniquely buying for you. You are purchasing health insurance for yourself. There's a risk assessment pool. They say this is about your risk. This is about what we can spend on these costs. It's a business that they run. You are spending this money entirely on your own health. Yet, you are actually burdening the costs for everybody else's screw-ups. You are paying for what everybody else does. It's the opposite of car insurance. Nobody would accept this if it were the process for car insurance.
We have to ask, any accidents in the last 10 years?
Yes, 6.
6? What kind?
2 fender benders, 1 spin out, 2 roadside ditch rolls, one of which I don't remember because I was hammered and I hit a pregnant woman.
Okay, and you're approved. Good news, sir. You've been approved. That'll be $1,896 monthly.
Wait, what? No, I'm a perfect driver. I have a perfect record.
Nope, right here it says you have 2 DUIs and rammed an expectant mother.
I didn't do any of those things.
Well, it doesn't matter because somebody did.
Son of a bitch!
So just don't accept all analogies. They don't always work. Boss Rutten coming up next, and then Andrew Klavan.
Home Body Break with Steven Crowder and Not Gay Jerry. Summer's a great time to barbecue with friends, family,
or even to make a few new friends.
That's right, but there are a few things you'll need first. An outdoor charcoal grill, your grill brush and utensils, plenty of charcoal, matches, and a healthy dose of lighter fluid. To build the perfect grill fire, first, build a pyramid with your charcoal. Then douse with a generous amount of flammable lighter fluid. When you're ready, use your matches. Interesting fact about lighter fluid, it's the vapors itself, not the liquid that's highly flammable. That's why it's always paramount that you take the proper... Oh my... You were supposed to stand back! Oh, that's definitely... Home Body Break with Steven Crowder and Not Gay Jerry. Sponsored by Mug Club.
Break, snap, crush with the foot. Break, snap, and deliver. This and this and this and this and this.
All right. Hopefully, our next guest takes that as a compliment. Longtime fan. Can't believe we got him on the program today. He's also right now. He's out there. He invented this when he was a kid. He was just telling me the O2 trainer. It's a lung capacity trainer. Check that out. But of course, people out there know him. Bring up his Twitter, not K. Jared.
There we go.
Boss. Oh, hold on a second. Let me give him more of an answer. Former UFC champion, former King of Pancrase champion, current MMA commentator, and all-around extraordinary American. You know him from Here Comes the Boom. A lot of people who aren't sports. Boss Rutten. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I know. It's weird when you think of like the hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be watching and listening to this, and if you just put them in a room, it'd make you really nervous. Like, wow, that's a huge, it would be 3-4 stadiums, but you don't really think of it when it's out on the internet. But they're all watching right now going, who's this Boss Rutten guy?
Yeah, he's a weird-looking dude with his bald head. Hey, wait a minute. Is that Rutger on Kevin Can Wait? Yeah, that could be the crazy plays his neighbor. That's me.
Yeah, well, you now, did you go bald at a young age? Because you shaved your head really young, so I just figured it was a style statement.
Yeah, no, it was a style. I believe it or not, I used to be a model. I have modeling pictures. You're gonna laugh so hard, but it was at the time when they went from the feminine guy, so to say.
Yeah.
They crossed over to the real guys, and at that time I came in, the model agency was owned by 3 women who loved me, and they put me out on a lot of work. So I have a lot of pictures, hilarious pictures. It's all blue steel, and it's all those kind of pictures. But I was always doing my hair. But not with gel and all that stuff and a blow dryer. I never did that. But one day I couldn't fix my hair, and I grabbed some gel and I put gel in it, and already I thought that was a complete loser thing to do, but I'm doing it, and I go. So I'm grabbing a blow dryer, and I don't click the thing on, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror with a purple blow dryer. And I go, this is so wrong. So I put it down, walked out, and my girlfriend at the time goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to shave my head. And she goes, yeah, right. I just walked straight out, went to the barber. I said, shave it off.
Really?
And he shaved me complete bald. And it was the freedom I received right after. It's insane. Go in the shower, you just do this. That's washing your hair. You jump in the pool, you come out. That's drying your hair. I mean, it goes really fast. You love it.
That's what I can imagine. And you also don't have to worry about the point, like, am I going bald? Am I losing my hair? Because it doesn't matter at that point. No one cares. But you have the head that can pull it off. Some people who do it, they just look like an escaped mental patient who just climbed down a rope of bed sheets and, ran out after suffocating their roommate with a pillow.
I was pulled from the womb with forceps. So I have this cone head that just would never work.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so, boss, listen, everyone knows you from fighting and commentary, but if they follow your Twitter, they know that you're a pretty sharp guy. I don't know if you remember this. So you're from Holland, right? So I remember I assumed everyone who I knew, raised in Montreal, like from Holland, were just super hippies who just wanted to smoke pot all the time. There was a picture of you, I think when you became an American citizen, you probably don't remember this, at the Lincoln Memorial, giving the finger, and it said like, this is for the terrorists. This was after 9/11. I don't know if you remember that. I remember sitting there like, okay, Boss Rutten might be coming from a different angle here. This was on MySpace, of all places. Do you remember that?
Oh, you know what? I remember because it was a big chair that I saw somewhere, I believe in Santa Barbara, and behind that big chair was a wall, and it was an American flag, the entire wall. And the chair was huge, and I go, I got to make a picture here. So I put on a crazy suit, like a 70s suit, and jump in the chair, and I'm sitting there flipping off, and it says freedom of speech, and then it goes F terrorist.
Yes. Okay. So I was thinking Lincoln Memorial, but you were the Lincoln. You were the one in the chair. That's what it was. And then I remember reading about it in I think it was back then Ultimate Grappling magazine, and like some people thought it was controversial. So you became an American citizen. Listen, as you know, in Europe, freedom of speech, we see that now. It's not necessarily an inherently European value. That's sort of rugged into it. I come from Canada where it doesn't exist. You can be jailed for hate speech. Talking about that flag with freedom of speech, you've talked so much about how you love the United States. You've become a citizen. You're kind of an anomaly. Why is it? You're different from a lot of people who come over from Europe, or a lot of them go back.
I don't know. I think once the people, this is the problem. Many times you talk to people from Europe, but they've never been to America. Oh. And if they've never been to America, they just repeat what other people are saying. They think this is a crazy country. My mom and dad, for instance, they didn't want to come the first year visit us because they were afraid to come. They thought people were shooting each other on the street. It was the most insane thing. They have a whole different picture of America. When I tell them, hey, did you ever go to America? No. I said, why don't you go first and check it out? Like my mom and dad, They came for only 7 days the first time. The next time they came 2.5 months. They rented an RV in Seattle. They went throughout all America, saw everything from America. It's their favorite country now. They had no clue why the propaganda, whatever it is, what they show about America on European TV, it's a different kind of America. I think so.
Yeah.
Why would people be afraid? It's a great country.
Well, I remember that too when I was raised in Canada. Everyone thought that if people in Texas, they were running around with cowboy hats and guns. Now, a lot of people do have guns. That is true. But they're not shooting each other. I actually, as when I moved to the States, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. You have a lot of people with guns who are law-abiding citizens, whereas we were sitting ducks in Canada. In Montreal, actually, we basically invented the school shooting. We had like 4 in the decade of the 90s. It was just, and there's nothing anyone could do. So it totally changed. What are you about to say now?
I should say, every Canadian I've ever known, from like school and everything, the first thing they do, they get here, they go to visit, New York City, then they find someone to marry so they can stay here. Almost every single person I ever know from college, that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. So what was that process like? Do you remember the moment where you said, you know what, I'm going to become a citizen in the United States?
Yeah, no, it was simple because our youngest daughter was born here. And it was in 2001. So as soon as she was born here, I said, okay, she's American, we're all going to become American now. And then my family can have dual citizenship, but the head of the household apparently cannot. And I said, no, I'm an American. Our daughter's born here. The 4 Musketeers, right? Once for all for one.
Right.
So that's why that's what we did. We became a citizen, and you know what? I believe that if you live in a country, you should become a citizen. And live by the rules of this country. This is a very important thing too, because in Holland, sometimes people from other countries come in, they commit horrible crimes, and then in court they're going to go, yeah, but you know what? In their country, it's not fancy if you look at them. I'm not kidding, dude. And they go off. They get free because in their country, and I say, yeah, but don't live in that country. If I would go to that country and I try to pull that stunt, it's not going to happen. But no, everybody's so happy. We love you. We understand. Okay, you go, boom, and then commit another crime.
Stabbing's only a misdemeanor in Saudi Arabia. I think we like to play by that rule.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So this is all interesting because now, like I said, don't get you started, but we got you started. Did you always think this way, or did you have kind of, they call it like red pill moment of clarity, being in the United States and enjoying some freedoms? And I say this as a Canadian. I came here and it's almost like in the air. You're like, wow, I'm just more free here. In Canada, everyone was offended by something you would say. People were constantly being jailed or being hauled off because they said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing. Did you always think this way, like you're talking now, or did it happen at a specific moment, or was it just a transition living here?
It was just a transition. I have a drawing that I made when I was 6 years old about Nogi the bird who flew to America. So America's always been in my mind. I had American cars, I had a Buick, a Dodge, a pickup truck with the big tires. You're young, you do all these crazy things. I was always really, always really wanted to go to America. I love the American movies. That's where all my, all the things that I use when people came. When people ask me, say, how do you speak English? Well, first of all, everybody speaks English in Holland because you have to. It's a little tiny country. Otherwise, nobody can understand you. But we see the American movies with the Dutch subtitles, so it's much easier for us to understand. And then once you start, learning all the lines, but when you watch movies like Scarface, and, you think the F-bomb gets dropped everywhere all the time here on the street as well. So when I came here,
I see where this is going.
And my first thing was, I thought there was freedom of speech here. You see, when I threw back, I said, apparently there's no freedom of speech if I cannot say that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I thought first. And with the guns, I already depth in that. I dove in that. And the reason this is one of the reasons that the Japanese all the way back didn't attack the mainland was because they knew they were going to have every citizen is going to be a soldier.
Yeah.
Everybody owns guns. So now you're not only fighting the military, you're fighting 80% of the people who have guns at home. So that's a big army that you suddenly have. So that's why they didn't attack the mainland and they started over there.
Well, same thing with Switzerland even. When you look at Nazi Germany, like, gosh, mountainous terrain, and everyone there has a gun. So they're like, let's skip over it. Yeah. Let's do Poland first. Well, let me ask you this. So, because a lot of people will talk about this. One thing I'm a big fan of with you is, you're funny, obviously, and actually people should check out your sketch comedy. It's rare if have ever endorsed sketch comedy. I will say, not all of it works, but some of it is really funny, which from a fighter is a huge ringing endorsement. It is really funny stuff. But you're a UFC champion. Okay, so there are a lot of people out there who BS and like, well, if you need a gun, you're a coward. I would just do this, and I got Tiger Claw, and I don't need the gun to feel secure. You're a UFC champion, world-renowned martial artist. well, I don't want to ask you personally if you carry because, let's keep that a surprise. But what's your view on that? Would you chalk it up to I don't need to be personally armed because I'm a martial artist, or do you think people should be, regardless?
I think if you're a professional fighter, you should. You should make sure that you're armed. Because the people on the street, if they know you, they're not going to fight you without a weapon. Right? I mean, they're going to lose. So if somebody's going to pull something, I think you should be prepared for that, at least at home and everywhere. It's a dangerous thing out there. Yeah. If I would be a normal person, I can understand, maybe, I won't be as much, but, as being a fighter, yes, they're never going to fight you without a weapon. So if something breaks out, they recognize me, it's going to be big, probably.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've talked, with a lot of fighters like listen, the last thing what you just said, they're not going to try and fight you fairly. And B, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen because if I'm a fighter, it's national headlines. But even that's just, you read the message boards and you see that attack from sort of the American left today. We're like, well, the gun is just for, you're so insecure, you cling to your gun.
They did it on a train one time without a gun.
Guys, this is very simple. Guess what? The bad guys have guns. I want to be ready when the bad guy comes in. Can it happen in my life? Yes, it can happen. It happens all around me, friends. It happens. People say, oh, that will never happen to me. Ask the people that it happened to. Because those people will say, I always said it never happens to me, and it happened to me. Yeah. It will happen. And if it happens, why not being prepared? Why give the power to some criminals?
Yeah.
And you're not able to defend yourself. So that's the dumbest comment there is, because people are bad. It is. It is. Once every so many people, there are really bad apples in between. And if they come, I'd rather be prepared. And if you say, no, there's this great line in True Romance with Christian Slater, one of my favorite movies. And he says, the one thing I realized over the last week is it's better to have a gun and don't need it than to need a gun and don't have it.
Yeah.
And the thing I'm trying to make here.
That's absolutely true, and I just think it's great to come from a fighter because that sort of debunks a lot of these folks. So remember, Jay, was it we had two? Boss Rutten would find this funny, where we went. I think you went to get your gun class. Guy knew everything about firearm instruction. Yeah. But then he's also like, by the way, I also teach martial arts, and he's like a 6th Dan black belt in Aikikai Jiu-Jitsu made up thing. You're like, listen, buddy, you're certified to give me gun training, but I don't think the guy with the pot belly and the homemade belt is necessarily who I want teaching hand-to-hand combat. There's just a lot of BS across the board right now, and it's easy to sell that to folks, especially when you just tell them, they need to be afraid of something. So I'm the guy to fix it. But
this is the world we live in. If you say to a guy, "How big is your penis?" "Oh, it's only 6-inch tall." "Oh, you have a micro penis." Everybody starts buying those pills. That's the thing you have to say to them. They're so easy to influence. You go like, oh, maybe I should look up a chart with the average size penises before. People are, you just give them a little ball.
I wouldn't use the word tall in inches. I'd say long. Tall is he's dead and rigid.
Yeah, I was thinking like a dead cat.
It's just clawed onto the couch.
We still have that in Holland. It's a straight Dutch translation that I do. But I tell a guy, oh, he's big. In Holland, that means he's tall. But here it means something different.
Yeah,
it's have to watch out with that.
Now, do they speak French in Holland at all?
No.
That's Belgium, right?
Just Dutch. Yeah, Dutch. And then at the border where I used to live, it's the Belgian, Flemish, German. Okay. A lot of people from that area, the lower part of Holland, speak German as well.
Yeah. Also known as Freaky Deaky Dutch, I learned.
Freaky Deaky Dutch, yeah.
I didn't know this, but I know because it sounds similar to a French-Canadian accent a little bit with Boss. I noticed that, kind of if you hear like my mom.
Yeah, I can hear that a little bit.
It's not what people here we're used to a German accent, and then when you think Dutch, people would assume it sounds more like Sven computer, but it sounds more French-Canadian to me. I don't know.
I think in West Michigan, there's so many Dutch people there that.
Yeah.
I've heard it a little bit.
Is it true Dutch people are cheap?
No, that's the weirdest thing. I never got that. They say, let's go Dutch on a date. I never in my life experienced ever. The guy always pays. I don't know where that comes from. Also, when I came here and all the Dutch and people saying we're cheap, at my first party that I went to from a guy says, hey, when you want to come to the party? I come to the party, buy a present. I come to give him the present. I go to the bar, get a beer, and the guy goes, "Says $6." And I go, "Excuse me," and he says $6. I said, "No, I'm with the party here, the birthday party." He says $6. And I go, and you guys talk about Dutch people. That won't happen in Holland. Go to a bar, and they will pay for it because it's their birthday. Nobody pays a thing. So I go like, wow, I can make parties now. I can actually make money. Yeah. I go on the worst day, and I tell the people, "What is your worst day?" "It's a Wednesday. I'm going to do a party next next Wednesday. I want 20% of the sale. It's my birthday party. I'm going to get presents and I'm going to get money. It's the greatest thing ever.
It is a good thing.
Here's a question though: are you a Nazi about turning the lights off when you leave the room?
With where? In my living or in my bedroom?
Any room. Are you a Nazi about turning them off? Because that's one thing I know
Don't
about Dutch
use the word
people.
Nazi. That has a different connotation for a Dutchman.
That's
Just
fair.
say, are you
That's
meticulous?
Fair. Meticulous.
What I lately started doing, like if I walk through the house and I see a light on, I actually turn it off. I started doing that. Yeah, but normally I don't like a lot of light. But
Okay.
turn off the lights. I mean, why wouldn't you? That's
What is
I
that, Jared? What is that question?
Oh, in West Michigan, that was one thing I noticed. Every Dutch person there is just adamant about making sure every light is off on every room you're not using all the time, always.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, they're really cheap there. That's always something. They unplug their refrigerators at night.
So maybe that's just an American thing.
Maybe.
Kind of like
that I never heard either. The refrigerator thing.
Well, that was a joke.
Oh.
Yeah. People though, I did see people washing coffee filters. But I seen this in America as well. But I was at a campground.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother, she would like paper coffee filters. They would wash them.
We would make horrible detectives. We've gotten a root of nothing here.
Cleaning coffee filters. Okay, so boss, we don't have a ton of time, but man, I hope to have you back. It's interesting to hear this story and people who come here and how their views change and they become Americans. Let me ask you this kind of finally, because how long have you been in the United States now? How long have you been a citizen?
Oh, actually, tomorrow, 20 years.
Wow. Congratulations, 20 years.
Cinco de Mayo. It's the Liberation Day from Holland. It's the day we got married. It's the day our dog was born. It's the day we met each other, my wife and I, 25 years ago. So, yeah.
So you've been married for 20 years?
We're together 25 years.
25 years, man.
Wow.
She must be quite the catch to nail down El Guapo, because he was known to be quite the. What was that?
To hang out with me for that time in my fighting time, I was a little crazy guy.
Yeah.
So she's a saint. Let me tell you that. She'll go straight to heaven. That one. She's amazing.
That's rare though for someone in a high profile. You know, obviously, well, you're in California and in the entertainment industry. It's rare for someone to be married that long. And I don't know what it's like in Europe, but in French Canada, people generally don't get married. They just sort of cohabitate. So that was a distinct. As a matter of fact, in Canada and Quebec, I'm sure you've been there because there's it's a huge MMA area. If you see a wedding ring, almost guaranteed Anglophone in Canada. French Canadians don't get married. And most of my European friends either don't get married who I've known or they get married later. But it seems like that's atypical, certainly of the entertainment industry and maybe Europe. 25 years. What is that just something you always knew you wanted to be with one person and just made it work?
No, she's just perfect for me. I mean, everything is there. You know, it's weird. I think at least like 10, 11 years, there's no fighting in this house. There's no screaming in this house. There's no words in the house. That simply won't happen.
Yeah.
Like a very rare that we say, hey, no. That would be as loud as it. That's it. You know, people go like, man, this is so great. All my friends, they ask if she has sisters, so because everybody goes, where did you find her?
Did they make her in a laboratory? What happened?
I don't know what happened, but something happened. God put us in contact, and suddenly.
Well, okay. Here's another thing. I'm sorry, but it's just a cultural difference. So you say God. Every person I've known from Deutschland, distinctly kind of unchurched, distinctly more agnostic, atheist. Like it's not a super. Here, obviously, sort of, you have a way more. It's not a secret that you have way more of an evangelical Christian community. So, were you raised that way, or was that something you came to in the States?
I came to in the States. I was raised that way till I was 12 years old. Then it stopped, and then I got distracted because that's where all the atheists started coming in with knowing it better and with the books. And then my mom and dad, they started actually believing that BS. And so slowly but surely, that happens, and you don't go to church anymore. And then 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, I was just sitting in on a conference about life, not even about God, just about life. And the way he was explaining that is a very smart guy, theologian Leo Severino. That was just, I was like, it was so much that felt together for me. I go, this is crazy. Now at the set, there was also the world-renowned Dr. Father Ripperger, who's an exorcist, straight with the Vatican, who does the worst cases. Yeah. And of course, that was the Navy SEAL Team 6 team member for me under the priest, that guy. So I wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
And the stories you hear, you go crazy. Now you have to understand, I had a run-in with a ghost in my house and a bad spirit, and that's why also for me it's easier to correlate, because people go, no, you're making that up. No, it's not making up. If it happens 25 times, it was really heavy. It's really pushed me into bed. Really was really attacking me until the final day. At 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, you want to do the opposite of what Jesus passed away at 3. So 3 o'clock at night, they say, is the most activity, and that's where I went onto the spot. Where it appeared, and I just challenged it for an hour, and it stopped. It stopped afterwards. We saw the curtains. We saw somebody running through the curtains. My entire family, curtains flying up to the ceiling, not like somebody to the ceiling. I was 100% certain there was somebody in the house.
Yeah.
I ran to the other side, but nobody was in the house. Everything was locked. Doors were locked. Windows were locked. And even if the windows were open, the carpet, it flew up against the ceiling. So there was a lot of activity. And I heard about these near-death experience, people who go away and who see other things in the room next door, who know exactly in the next door what the people were saying there. Hey, my father was smoking. He never smoked. So they come back and they say, why were you smoking? How do you know? Well, I actually was floating above you guys and I heard the whole conversation. So I know 100% there is something. I refuse to believe there is not something after this life. This is just a test. We're on this, everything there is without time and space. Here, this is the only place where we have time. So I truly believe this is just a race. It's just a race. Who's the guy, good person, and that go up.
We have some listeners coming in who read Boss Rutten, and they're like coming from the Joe Rogan podcast. They're saying, I haven't smoked enough pot yet for this conversation. They're not ready for it. But that's fascinating. My closest near-death experience now pales in comparison. I was getting turned over in a kayak, and I thought I was going to die because I couldn't get out. That was it. I don't know if you've ever been like an old kayak, but it's impossible to get out unless you know how to flip back over. And I thought I was going to die. That's about it. That's my near-death experience. It's not nearly as interesting.
You had one.
Yeah, I had one. Fascinating. All right, well, we have to bring you back, and we can talk about so much more too. We have Andrew Klavan. Do we have Andrew Klavan coming up?
Andrew Klavan coming up.
So, Boss, where's the best place for people to find you?
I do. I'm an old guy, I guess, right? Facebook is where I have a lot of activity on my Facebook account. Okay. On my Twitter, Boss Rutten. Facebook is just facebook.com/Boss Rutten. Twitter, that's where I answer pretty much all questions.
Okay.
So people ask me a question, Boss Rutten MMA. And then on Instagram, that's when I show pictures here and there. But I'm not a big guy into that for some reason. I'm getting more into it. But that's
you need to channel your inner male model again for Instagram. That's what you need to do. That's all it is. It's just big Kardashian. Yeah, there you go. Ooh. And don't you have a podcast you're doing?
I have a podcast together with Mauro Ranello. We're actually going to shoot it in half an hour.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do it. Yeah, it's going to be released tomorrow. It's a fun podcast. It's where we're going to talk about cannabinoids. We have that person. We interview that person who's completely cured, just using CBD oil.
Yeah.
And a good diet. Mm-hmm. Didn't do chemo. Didn't take any pills. Didn't do anything. And he's completely stage 4. Completely cured. So there's a lot of power there. I'm in a group called Athletes for Care. It's all about help athletes, professional athletes, because I'm talking with a lot of other football players who are on that board as well.
Yeah.
Everybody go, the Vicodins, the pain pills. It's such an ugly drug. It's so addicting. It's and the CBD does the same thing. Yet it's not addictive. So addicting. So I want people to be informed. I'm going to do schools here. I do these school talks already for kids who go to college. Every year I talk for 500 kids and I tell them what they can expect. But now it's going to be added. The CBD thing is going to be added. I'm going to go, guys, because once it starts there, it's a scary, documentary. It goes from OxyContin to heroin because it's cheaper to use heroin. And
I've seen that. And we had a comic on here too, Artie Lang, who ran through that problem. So it's a matter of fact, he was actually advised to. He's open about it, so I'm not outing. But he was advised to use heroin because since it was directly injected, bypasses the liver. So he's told it's actually if you're taking all these pills, it's better to take the heroin. But Boss Rutten El Guapo, which means the handsome one. So now you see why you're seeing it as webcam. Thank you so much, sir. We have to go, but we'll have to have you back soon to talk more about everything.
Yeah, then we can. If you want to dive into something deeper, then we have the time for that.
Oh, we dove into something deeper. Look at him leaving insulting right before we have music playing. There's music. I hear what's happening.
It just isn't done that well. The son of the queen of the laugh hang.
me, YouTube. Do you feel in charge?
Hello, people watching this for free. Now, some of you are members of the Mug Club, and some of you are cheapskates. Loudwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. We've talked about this. That's where you get daily Crowder. We're going to be offering it for free on YouTube at some point here in the next month. I don't know exactly when because I have to travel, but it's $99 annually, $69 for students. That's you get access to the whole CRTV library, and we are adding some really cool names right now. It takes a month or two for these things to be announced, but I'm excited. And you saw Trenny Bain talking about it. It is.
You can't say that seriously.
Trenny Bain, and there's going to be an ongoing series. Mug Club is truly, with the amount of people who've joined, an uprising. It is a way. We've talked about voting with your dollar. There are a few ways to sort of stamp. Okay, this is what I believe. When you join the Mug Club, when you join CRTV, it is a stamp. You're putting that money out there with no real physical expectation of something in return. Although great content. Listen, you do get the show daily, and you get it now audio, downloadable on the go. Is that starting next week?
Next week.
We're supposed to start this week, but then there was a glitch with the platform change. But it's what allows us to continue uploading so much more content to YouTube. We never wanted to do a bait and switch and give you and then pull it away and say you have to pay for it. I don't know if you've noticed, but since Mug Club, we've been providing more free content than ever. Here's the thing. We've been providing more free content than ever, and the free content is generating less revenue than ever because of, like we talked about, Google's algorithms and fake news. They don't like what we're doing. They don't like what you're doing. And the only way we can continue to do this and create an alliance with more people and grow, right now we're doing a daily show, Not Gay Jared. When you join Mug Club, you get his show with Courtney on Fridays, Morning Grinders. But the only way we can grow truly for unpluggers and create a whole network, and right now we have a dozen people employed just under the Louder with Crowder umbrella, is if you join. That money, ironically, supports all the free content.
And why is free content important?
Free content is important. It's good. They're kind of business models, and you see this out there with a lot of conservatives. For example, Fox News. Their only goal is to preach to the choir. That's most conservative networks out there, right? As a matter of fact, everywhere that I've ever worked, where they were conservatives, they're saying, we want less on YouTube, we want less free content, we want to get them to pay. The difference with CRTV, why they're so great and with what we do with Mug Club is because, listen, you want to, behind the paywall, we can talk about a lot of things. It's more conversational because we know you guys. We know the Mug Club members. We're close. We tweet. We often direct message. Sometimes we take live tweets. But it's so important to still reach new people. I mean, today it may sound silly, but you're going to see hundreds of thousands of people, millions upon millions of people each month hearing new things, whether it's about the healthcare mandate. If it's as simple as someone saying, I had no idea that the Affordable Care Act increased premiums. It could be something as simple as someone saying, I had no idea that chromosomes had anything to do with gender. People are learning new things all the time. So the free content is important. That's the mission, is to inform and hopefully educate people. But the only way to do that is through the premium content. The premium content, the paid content, is what allows the free content to bring more people into our camp and change the political, cultural landscape of the country. So louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. We appreciate it. Don't be cheap.
And I don't want nobody. And I don't want nobody. You got that right. And I don't want nobody. I lost.
All right. Glad to have our next guest. Always love him on the program, but the problem is we always talk before the program.
That's true.
And then we're sitting there like, this is the show. What are you doing? We'll talk during the commercial break, and it'll make some point. So you know him. You follow him at Andrew Klavan on the Twitter. He has a fantastic book out, The Great Good Thing. You can read it on Amazon. Read it on it. You can order it on Amazon. Nobody reeds the book on Amazon.
the first page, Steven.
It's like Stephen Colbert trying to understand social media. You can read it on the Books of the Faces. Aren't I cool, kid? Hipperoos. And he just recently spoke at, Andrew Klavan show, obviously at Daily Wire, good friends at Daily Wire. Just recently spoke at Oberlin College there, right, Andrew Klavan?
I did. I was a smash hit with people trying to smash me and hit me. It's no, actually.
With you, I would imagine as a conservative, you're somewhat used to being heckled.
I'm really not. I have to be honest with you. They all that happened was I got heckled, and at the same time, Ann Coulter was being attacked and like threatened and all. So I felt it was pretty mild. But I will say that normally I'm invited to speak in front of conservatives. And it didn't really even occur to me until the last minute that I was walking onto one of the most liberal colleges in the country, and that people might be upset to have me there. But I still have this kind of innocence of thinking like, oh, but I'm such a nice fellow. Why would anybody? And when they started heckling me,
I'm half Jewish. The faculty will love me.
There's a scene in the novel War and Peace where this young Russian soldier sees the French charging over the hill, and he says, they want to kill me, whom everyone loves. That was the way I felt. I thought, how are you heckling me?
This is the point where I smile and nod like I've read War and Peace, and it doesn't just occupy space on my bookshelf as a gun case.
Don't worry, nobody thinks you've read War and Peace.
Exactly.
That's not happening.
No, it's not. You know what? It's funny that you bring it up. I want to go back to Oberlin, but I have not read War and Peace. I won't lie. I've not read War and Peace. I've not read a page of it. And when I went to college, we didn't read Mark Twain. We didn't read any of the American classics. None of it. We read like Tears of a Tiger and all this social justice crap, especially in Canada. Even back then, I was reading it like, are you sure this is really what I should be reading in English literature? But there are a lot of things. Like I was sitting there thinking about the Korean War. I know very little about the Korean War. I know old like bastards who get mad, like I was in Korea, but I've studied Vietnam, but I don't know the ins and outs of the Korean War. And it's dangerous to say that on this program because someone will then try and quiz me next on the Korean War. But there are a lot of things where you're like, you know what, I really
felt
should
that
learn
way
more.
about the First World War. I'm like, everyone talks the Second World War gets so much attention. I don't know what's first.
It's not complicated. The Germans are assholes.
Oh yeah, they're like, the Germans, of course. Now I get it.
The First World War, see, the thing is, I lived overseas for a long time. The First World War wiped out a generation of men. So over there, in Europe, it's huge in the same way like every little village in America has a Civil War monument on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Every tiny village lost 1,000 guys right, in World War I. When I was there, I read, seriously, this is absolutely true, I read at least 20 books about World War I. And when it was over, when I was finished, I still didn't know why it had started.
Just chalk up the Germans being Germans. They're always a problem.
It was kind of like Europe was saying, things are going so well, let's kill everyone. Let's commit suicide. It was the end of European civilization.
Apparently, Kim Jong-un's been reading the same books and getting ideas. Oh, chapter 42! All right.
You can kill everyone for no reason.
Hey, how many people can I kill with a cherry bomb? So, all right, so let's go back to Oberlin.
Oberlin, yeah.
Okay, so you get heckled.
Here's the thing. Most of the people, I would say in a room, I don't know, 50, let's guess 50 people. I'm not very good at that, but let's say 50 people. In that room, I would say 40 to 50% of them were left-wing kids. And they were polite, they were charming, they got up afterwards and asked me questions. And, it was great. We had a really interesting exchange. I was really interested in talking to them.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of these people were rude, nasty little people, and 2 of them, I swear, needed psychiatric care.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was like, obviously, he had some kind of gender dysphoria.
I was going to say, was he a tranny? Yeah, that was really my first question.
It was bizarre, and comes in and puts his feet up on the chair and throws his his sleeveless arm open and all this stuff. So I'm looking up his armpit, and I just thought, you think people hate you because you're gay? They hate you because you're a lout. Because you were
as soon as I looked that up on Wikipedia, I'm gonna be pissed.
Synonym asshole. Okay, I get it.
Maybe it's me. But it's like we talked about with that transgender on campus. Did you see that? Did you see that one where the transgender at Berkeley just freaked out in the guy where this person, we still don't know if it's male.
350 orange hair. It should ring a bell.
350 pounds, orange hair, crumpling up a Trump flag, and the guy goes, "Oh, what a big man you are!" And he goes, "Shut your mouth. I'm an effing woman." And it's clear the guy wasn't trying to troll the tranny because the guy's response is just, he doesn't know what to say.
The wordless scream.
He's thinking, I'm going to get a call from the dean. And that's what we talk. It's a subspecies. They actually don't have a lot in common with your run-of-the-mill tranny. Your RuPauls, the people who just kind of want to be bitchy in that section of the bar with the cool kids.
Right.
This is a whole subspecies of gender fluid pansexuality. It really only exists on campus.
And the terrible thing about it is I'm sorry, but a lot of it is mental illness.
Yeah.
And to tell a guy with a mental, this is what I came away with. These university leftists are mean. It's mean.
Yeah.
It is mean to tell a guy with a problem that his problem is society instead of his mind. Nothing that society does for this guy is going to make him any happier. And to tell him that if he can just get everyone to agree that he's a woman, poof, he'll be a woman. Ain't going to happen. And that he might be a poof, but I don't think he's going to be a woman.
Klavan! Oh, Klavan! Feel like the Muppet guys are going to show up. Oh, where do you get these jokes? Oh!
There's no trendy consensus.
Well, that must be the Gentile half. I think you're right. And here's what's so crazy. Like I said, it's probably a handful out of even the 40 or 50% of the students who are left. So the rest of them are right. Half of them, let's say, left. Let's just do it for easy numbers game. 50% conservative, 50% left, and single-digit percentage points of these kids who are left. But the faculty acquiesces to them. The late-night shows acquiesce to them. The Democratic National Platform acquiesces to them. The Women's March acquiesces to them. These people represent 0.001% of population Earth, but they occupy such a huge portion of the American cultural spectrum. I've got to imagine people are seeing it.
Well, and also let's get down to the fact that these are kids. These are people whose your brain doesn't even form fully until you're 25 years old. Yeah. These are kids. The professors and the administration are in charge of them and are their mentors. They have on Oberlin. They have a black dorm. They have a dorm for black people. And I just
for black people. I just thought you meant it was like, it's the black dorm where you never go and come back. It's the Negro dorm, baby.
That's the pirate dorm.
Look at me spot.
That's the butt pirate dorm where Dr. David Dow goes, Percocet! Go ahead. Sorry.
This is where the black kids, you leave college, you grow up in a place where everybody is black or Italian or Irish or Jewish or whatever. You leave college, you're supposed to meet all these different people and realize, I hate these people. Let me go back home. It's supposed to expand your mind. And instead, they've got these kids hiding away in their little black dorm. I mean, Martin Luther King would roll over in his grave. I was thinking people in my generation walked unarmed into the teeth of guns and clubs and dogs to get you out of this situation, and you're so scared of being, slighted, you're going back in. It's just, it's insane. And the telling them that they're victims. I was talking to Christina Hofsummers because she spoke before me a couple of months before me and got protested and all that. And she said that the women were going into their safe spaces because they were triggered because she told them they weren't victims. They weren't oppressed. Yeah. That's what triggered them,
Well, I always get up. But tits though. No, I'm telling you, it's not just about the tits. It's not. What? Naomi Wolf told me. I read Naomi Wolf and very confused. Here's the thing. I'm with you, and it is remarkable though that these people have as much pull as they do. I mean. Again, if you read HuffPo, Salon, AOL, any of these mainstream websites, and we're not just talking about leftist websites either, just any site that's not right wing, it's as though there's this unwritten agreement, like, oh yeah, she, yeah. I couldn't find out who it was, even on Campus Reform, a conservative site. This 300-pound person with orange hair said, "I'm a woman, you better respect." They described this person as transgender. I swear to you, we had a 20-minute roundtable where we're going, well, hold on a second. It looks like a man. But saying he's a woman is kind of, like just lack of any muscle tissue, so fat. So it's really hard to determine. So is this a male to female transgender? Is it a female to male transgender? Jared just said
I still wouldn't put any money down on it, but I think lesbian.
You just think a big old standard run-of-the-mill lesbian.
Run-of-the-mill.
And none of us, because the article just act like this is a transgender. It's like, well, hold on a second. This is key information we need to know. And they act at the world, look, oh, yeah, sure, yeah, 300-pound orange-haired mohawk transgender. Well, yeah,
Exactly. And that's a person who probably needs some help, and telling him that, his world is terrible because you're in it. The world is a little more terrible because you're in it. But I mean, his particular world is terrible. It's just cruel. It's a cruel thing to do. And I think it's cruel to make some of these conservative kids, now you're left this garbage or get a bad grade. It's a terrible thing to do to a young person, I'm going to teach you to have no integrity. I'm glad you've come to Oberlin because when you come here, we're going to teach you have no integrity, lie to get ahead, and that's the life lesson we give you.
Right,
it's like,
I know.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You say most liberal campus in the United States. I mean, at that point, you're talking about a difference, maybe like a single percentage point. Like Oberlin, and it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe if you go to Cornell, maybe it's like 94% liberal as opposed to 95. At a certain point, it doesn't matter anymore. But it really really is this just horrible sort of manifestation of the worst that humanity has to offer. And they're in this unholy alliance with the media, the entertainment industry, and academia. And it doesn't even represent the left in the United States, like a lot of people who voted for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it doesn't. You know, it represents, I mean, the left has this whole thing about that somehow speaking the truth is unvirtuous. They have this whole idea that it really is so much better to say he's a woman, because why would you hurt his feelings? And you go like, well, the truth actually matters. You know, the truth kind of sets you free and establishes, you know, we can all talk about the truth because we agree what it is. But they actually think that the reality will change because they describe it differently. Yeah. You know, that if you describe that guy as a woman, somehow he'll be healthier of mind and happy. And that's going to take away the fact that inside his mind, he's going, I'm in hell, get me out of my head. It's a living hell. You know? It's like, that's not going away because we call him a machine.
No,
you know?
It's not going away. It's like you just wake up and you just want to scream into your coffee mug at the top of your lungs. No, I think I'm a man. I don't think that's the issue. And it is sad because we have people like Blair White on and Theron Meyer and people who are transgender who openly talk about this. And I've talked about it as someone who actually has, you know, struggled with, we've talked about like mental health issues with ADHD, which manifested as like severe depression at one point. And they thought all kinds of things were wrong with me as a kid. Well, imagine if they just said, oh, you know what, he's just, he's fine, let him be that way. And they didn't actually try to help me. I would have never.
It's your fault for calling him sad. If you would just call him happy, then he'd be happy, you know? I mean, it's like talking to somebody with an eating disorder. You're like, yeah, you weigh 60 pounds, you look great. No, you are a little fat. You know, when you say you're a little fat, go ahead, starve yourself, and when you're dead, we'll say you're alive, and then you'll be alive. You know? It's great. It's a perfect system.
Like Lena Dunham, we talked about this. Lena Dunham lost weight. And we hats off to her. Like, look, you know, she looks better. And she goes, you know what? It's just, I did it for me, not for anybody else, but I feel better, I sleep better. And let me tell you something, people, endorphins are real. And we're sitting there like, yes! We've been saying this whole time, and you've been just saying we're hate speakers. It's because we want what's good for you. It really is just like a parent with a child. It's like, listen, don't put your hand on the stove. No! Don't put your hand on the, it's gonna hurt. And they put it on, and it keeps burning. And like, you know what? It's when their hand is all bandaged up like Liam Neeson in Darkman, they're finally saying, you know what? I actually think it's better to not touch the stove. You're like, well, yeah, we've been telling you that the whole time. That's what's happening with today's left.
And for Lena Dunham now, when she takes her shirt off, people won't press the remote, you know? Different experience. People may actually not